back orders. Get you back in, taking.
Yeah. What's your average call line? Give or take 50 calls?
The last, I think I got 3 years from you at one point, and it was between 6 and 7, 650 and 750, I think I could average it out to, if I recall correctly.
Alright. Are we official? Alright, so a couple things from kind of where we're leading off from last week. Whenever we met last. Was to look at all the budgets together and just see kind of where we're at. So tonight, we're going to look at the numbers, talk a little bit about average call volumes, populations, and then look at what people currently have staff. So on the whiteboard, we'll do a little school time thing on there, write down, just kind of get an average of and understanding where currently things are at, which then allows us to start having that future conversation of where does the group feel you need to be. And then from that, we have where your budget is currently, and then that allows us to start planning to actually kind of see some numbers and what an actual cost might be. At this point, I would encourage the group not to, if like somebody asks you how much this is gonna cost, it's totally acceptable to be like, we don't know.
We don't.
And leave it, you know, like we're trying to actively figure that out, but we don't, like, we're not throwing out, I wouldn't throw numbers out because, that's just where people start to spiral if there's not good numbers.
Yeah.
But once you have a plan, and even like this, people are able to see, oh, okay, like this is the numbers in front of them. So,
In council, we really won't know until March.
right. Well, for everybody.
Well, I'm just saying that, I mean, we have no had, in fact, we haven't had two choices going to voters. It's gonna make a difference in numbers.
We talked a little bit about, I'm gonna repeat a little bit, is there is some missing numbers to know the true ones, so I'll pick on the chiefs at some point to see if we can find out a little bit more. So like for Glenburn and Kenduskeag is like the other fees associated, so for instance, Social Security, workers' comp, what those costs are, where do they live, or are those part of your budgets that were provided or not, just so we can kind of start filling out some of those. And for the overall group, we miss on Glenburn, I missed the $120,000 of capital expenses.
Yes, I was gonna
back.
know that.
But that would be included in there. I can update it and send it out.
I would also make the recommendation for taking that admin out of payroll. Just
Okay.
because that's not a true statement for, if you wanna be really factual about it, the 7,000 is for funding of computers and things like that,
okay.
it's, you know, disposables and stuff.
Well, I assumed just looking at it, that was.
Yeah, I would have done the same. No, mine is built into, call company.
Okay, cool. Alright, perfect. Make that adjustment there, so everybody can, look at that. So, all three towns, side by each, as we like to say, tried to compare personnel and operations. I just categorized that. I took the verbiage pretty much from everybody's, and then I just put it highest to lowest for readability, sake of that. So you can see how much personnel is a pretty big chunk of change when it comes to it. But typically that's true in most fire department budgets, so that's on point. And then you have overall your operations. The thing that this budget doesn't capture is, we've talked about a little bit about the personnel costs. So then there's the stations. Like, who's paying for it? Do you have a loan that you're paying for a newer station or not? Apparatus, are you paying for a loan on an apparatus or not? Those are captured in here. So just as we move forward, that would be another thing to consider. Like, is your community paying for anything else fire or EMS related that not on just the average budget because it belongs in other funds somewhere? Just so you have, we have continued to kind of build a bigger picture of what currently is being spent. And if you were to transfer that, how much would that be in the real number?
Which is gonna make a big difference how people look at it too.
Absolutely.
Mark,
Okay,
that salary for you is not right, is it?
A what?
That salary figure for you is not correct, is it?
The budget items for the Corinth one, I believe, are the proposed items.
Yeah, I took it from the proposed. I took it from the proposed budget for.
But 36?
That's fire payroll. Next line up will be your
Oh,
chief salary.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
alright. I was gonna say, I
Thank you
knew-
for volunteering your time.
Yeah, really.
I'll tell you what mine is.
It says right here, 103.
I'd stay for that.
Down at the bottom, I probably should have put like estimated total costs, but you can see kind of the combined amounts there. Under each budget, for the sake of just my own curiosity, I took all the budgets, put them together, and then I said, that's 100%, what would the percentages be of what each town would be paying into that hole? And so that's the percent that's under the total from each town of what it would be if you just right now lump that money together and each town is paying that into a bigger pool, just for that. There's more rabbit holes to go down in that, but I would say we'll leave that for kind of future discussion. And I didn't have it on there, but I just looked it up while we were sitting here. So populations, according to the census, Glenburn has 4653, Corinth had 2901, and Kenduskeag had 1437. So those are the populations. And that'll all come in later as we kind of talk
Would you
about.
say, Kenduskeag was?
1437. 1437.
What year was that, Paul?
That was supposedly the last which was 2 years ago.
2022.
2022. Is that right? If you have more updated guesses,
I was thinking we were 49 something, but.
There is a 2024 number on one of the state of Maine websites, but
I'll look again for that. I just ballparking on that. And then for average call volumes, I didn't add it on there, but Glenburn is 650 to 700. Corinth would be sorry on the numbers today. 450 to 500, and Kenduskeag 250 to 3. So accumulation there. Good news is, justify that, you can easily justify a 2 ambulance system with that kind of call volume. Knowing that that's all calls and not just EMS, but.
Yeah, but that percentage of EMS calls will probably be 75 to 80% at least.
Missed calls?
No.
Oh.
No, EMS calls.
Oh, yes. Oh yeah, on average. And the goal would be the next meeting to try to have more of that finite data as far as EMS and fire reporting goes, but to kind of start the conversation off, just to have kind of the overview of the town and what they're doing population wise and their current call volumes. I'm curious on a high total here.
The trend for the population should be 4801 for 25.
Before I go on.
Just to try to be as close as we can.
No hash?
There might be a 0.25 and grow up.
I actually meant to say 0.5.
Well, and conveniently, going off of the high averages, it's 1,500 calls, give or take, between all three communities. But, and then between this meeting and next meeting, my goal is to dive deeper into the data well of what's truly going on for the call volumes to bring back that kind of understanding for that. So,
I got a question.
Yeah.
So how would this affect mutual aid?
in what regard?
Well, if the three towns was in a district, or whatever you wanna call it, how would that affect mutual aid to other towns?
Well, the district would make mutual aid agreements.
Okay, the district would, okay.
The surrounding communities.
Okay, that's, because I was gonna say, that puts us in a unique position then, because you're not just working for yourself, now you're working for three towns, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, you have to look at it more or less as it's fire department or
Right.
fire EMS, and so the same rules apply of any outside entities. You would need mutual aid agreements.
But that changed things, cause like, well, I guess we've been mutual aid with everybody, but.
But I mean, the ideal goal, from what I understand, is if you get to the point of having two staffed ambulances, the benefit of that within that whole is when one goes out, you know that within a relative time frame, you have another one coming. Now,
Right.
we've talked about it earlier, that we do know that that third call may come in, that now you're gonna have to bring in that's where your mutual aid agreement comes in. But it's the same thing that even you can provide mutual aid, and it's truly mutual aid at that point, that you know that if you're sending staff the ambulance out, you have coverage, but then if both your ambulances are out, it's mutual because one's gonna come in from one of the other agencies. Mutual aid is supposed to be 1-to-1, not like they don't have one and you're just
I
sending
think
an
the door is
ambulance.
closing, but yes it is, closing
Well,
quiet.
when that fan's on, it may not. It's sucking the door open. It'll close and fan shuts off.
So who does the mutual aid agreement?
The fire
Is that like the fire chief's
Each
thing?
individual chief will sign it, but it's a county agreement.
Well, they have the countywide, but then you can also do any agreements. Tonight they could shake a hand, and have a mutual aid agreement. All right, to say that's
So
what they're
it's-
doing.
So it's not like a contract or anything?
Not as far as mutual aid goes. It's a written policy, if you wanna talk about, this is what our plan is in the event of an emergency and how they're gonna handle it. Now, it can be we're just gonna send whenever you call for us, it can be that simple, to, there are ones out there that have a pay structure that if you call us, we're gonna come, but this is the criteria and this is the cost, and you just agreeing. Those normally is where lawyers tend to get more involved in that, yes, we'll just come to you when you call. But it can be as simple as a handshake to as extreme as a legal contract that explains what you want it to be and how it's
So-
gonna be.
So it's like all over the place. It's
When
not in-
Bradford's chiefs change hands, like Jesse Young got done, Desmond became chief, he reached out to me because me and Desmond know each other, and he said, hey, you guys aren't on our alarm plan, because, you know, whatever political reason in the last administration, and he said, can I put you back on? And, you know, of course I said yes. And that's our agreement with them, you know, we have not gone to a call in Bradford because he's never called and said, hey, you know, we need you this far away to come up there, but we do have that agreement where like they had multiple patients on a call the other day, and I called Desmond and said, hey, do you want me to start that way? Like, what's going on? And he said, no, like the troopers just got here, like we're good now, you don't need to. But that's kind of our agreement with Bradford, and it's just through friendship and, you know, obviously
Yeah,
mutual support, but
I'm just
yeah, no,
curious to, you know, our mutual aid agreements, like you said, a handshake or a signed paper, who keeps it? Who knows?
The fire department.
We,
Dispatch.
Maine EMS rules for EMS say that you'll have written mutual aid agreements to ensure that you have 24/7 availability to respond 24/7.
But the fire department don't have to
Well,
have
it-
that.
There's no state law requiring it, unlike EMS. EMS is more regulated, state says you will provide fire, I messed that whole thing up.
Yep.
State law says you will provide fire coverage to municipality. There's no state law saying you will provide EMS coverage. That's where they've regulated the mutual aid response, so you always have coverage.
Okay.
But there's mutual aid and automatic aid, right? If I send you an ambulance and you don't have an ambulance to send me, that's automatic aid. You're calling, I'm going, but you're not mutual because you don't have an ambulance to send me. So you can kind of get in the weeds on it, but the county does have an agreement, and I think all but the fire district one is participating in that now, which is a written document that's held in the county.
Oh,
Well, once it's a district, it has to be written, I would think it has to be written.
And I don't know if Josh has signed it or not, Chief McNally, but
I do know
there was some wishy-washiness on it at one
I
point.
know they're actively signing
Okay.
new agreements, so I do know that, but.
Most everybody's on it because we're under the understanding that we can't do it on our own. So
Well,
we need the help. So,
No butts in the seats, as you well put it.
yeah, there you go.
yes.
I mean, on the fire side, you need more than any town has for resources. When it comes to ambulances, the abuse starts to become, the communities that don't have one just start to say, well, we don't wanna fund one.
Mhm.
They are, so we're just gonna start calling them to come take our patients, and we're just not gonna pay anything, you know, and that's where the tension in the system has really started to come, and where communities
Yeah.
now have started to say, you know what, you've called us 50 times this year, we're not getting anything back from you, not getting resources back, which was the mutual,
Mhm.
so that you know, when we send a fire truck to you and you send a fire truck to us, to wash, we're not asking for anything, because we're relying on that, but
Right.
when you don't have that, now we're funding the ambulance, we're paying $100,000 to staff it, and you're not giving us anything.
Mhm.
And that's the challenge that is it's gotten to the point where there are places in the county now they're saying, we're not going, Corinth is, we're not going out of town, we're taking care of our
Right.
community for right now, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
And there's pluses and minuses to that, because then other towns can start saying, well, fine, we're not gonna come to you either. And that's where that domino effect, kind of a negative domino effect starts to happen, that we silo off instead of,
Well, you get small dominoes and big dominoes.
yes.
yeah.
You gotta pick your dominoes
The
sometimes.
percentage of fires compared to EMS calls is
Oh, yeah.
not.
Huge.
So, I mean, that can, and not only that, but like for our guys, they get so much an hour on call, but that price goes up when they're not active. So if somebody goes to another town and they're there 3 hours, we got 2 people we're paying a sum of money for. If we're not getting that back, we don't really have it in our budget.
No, I agree.
I'm
That's
just-
an
I'm just-
example of
I'm just
communities
clarifying
that
that
don't
with
have
that.
ambulance, they're calling you because now you do have one.
How come, I'm sorry, I'm probably derailing you, but like I said, I'm just trying to understand everything. So why don't, like, the towns that have the ambulance, if they have to go to another town, why don't they charge them?
Well, some do.
Oh, okay.
And you,
It all depends on what the municipalities do. I know of municipalities at one point got so sick of it that they said it's $1,500 every time you call us. And we're just gonna build a town.
which way it should be, cause otherwise you ain't gonna get paid.
And then,
Yeah.
and then those other towns decided to do something.
Yeah.
But, so like that is a possibility. But
It's also a problem.
it's also, that's also a problem.
Yeah,
Right. So ideally, like moving this direction, you're kind of, well, I didn't say you're avoiding it, but you're building a more
sustainable future.
sustainable and resilient system within a whole that can actually support one another more mutually. And then you're still gonna need your mutual aid agreements, because a bad car accident, you might need more than 2 ambulances, you know, and you're gonna need more people.
Okay. I think I get it now.
Well, we can circle back to it if we need to. Anybody have any questions on this? And ultimately, for distribution purposes, this is for discussion purposes only. This isn't like our draft of a budget. Nothing's official. Just so that people could actually start to see what, cumulatively, where we're at.
I just did down to town councils at 49% though. We don't have the biggest town, but we had the biggest percentage by far.
Well, again, it is missing probably about 200,000 out of that side, with some personnel side of things and then their capital expenses.
Yeah.
So I will update this,
Okay.
as we continue, but as a starting point.
Yeah, no, I'm just,
That's
Yeah.
specifically why it says discussion purposes only.
Yes, so the percentage automatic, as soon as I noticed
Should've
that
been
the
back to letters.
120,000 was missing, I was like, well, the percentages were way off,
Yeah.
as soon as I did that, but that was my own
I
curiosity.
just pick up on stuff like that.
No, absolutely.
I'm kind of drawn to it, even though I need glasses.
No, it's just for the, if this wanders out into the community, I don't
No.
want anybody to come back and say, they have a budget already. No, is that?
It's already wandered into
Oh, I know,
ours.
Yeah.
that's okay.
But with no hard facts, so that's the thing.
Right. So based on this budget, the next thing, nobody has any direct question on this, I figured we'd actually just on the board so people could actually see it, kind of draw out the staffing model to what is currently happening. And then the group can kind of see for this money, more or less, a few $100,000, is what's currently happening. And then that starts to lay that platform for, well, what does the group think needs to happen, which I think leads us to our next meeting, which will add in a little bit more hard data for call volumes, and like, because part of the thing when we're talking about the plan is everyone's like, well, we need an ambulance, we need it 24/7, and you're like full time. That's probably a little aggressive, because there are a lot of different models that you can do. You can continue to do like call from home, even in both communities. If you know people are staffing it, you can ease your way into getting to a position that you need to do. The thing of also looking at the data before you start throwing out hard numbers and saying we need full-time people 24/7 is the call data based on averages. You can actually do staffing models based on that as well. So you may say we need people during the day all the time because there's nobody here, but at night we have a good call volume and we can do an on-call system, and so then that becomes a cheaper expense to have people on call from home responding to the ambulances. It increases the time because people will have to come into the station, but where's the, it's the yin and the yang that the kind of the community group has to, what do you want? Do you want someone at the station 2 minutes away from the ambulance to get out the door, or are you okay with people responding from home to get the ambulance to get there. The other toss-up that you can do that is within the agencies, you can provide support for the members of the department and give people jump bags so that, you know, if like, hey, it's my neighbor's house, I'm just gonna go over there and start providing care while the ambulance comes to me, if they are equipped to do that. So there are alternatives to just saying you have to have an ambulance, people sitting at the ambulance to get rapid response to people's homes. There are, you know, ways that can kind of help kind of predict that. That makes sense.
Makes very much sense.
And then, you know, I always like to see those days, because then when services do that, I can normally pick which days I don't want to work. When you can say, all right, every Tuesday is the busiest day of the week, so I'm just going to work Wednesdays. This is the slowest day, based on the actual call right
Yeah,
now.
the way you spend, and then when you get to pick your number, then you close that one out, and somebody else spends.
Right. So on average, as you can tell, in my previous department, Tuesdays were the slowest day, so I was put into work on Tuesdays. But and then like Fridays was the busiest, but I mean, lots of factors. And as we dive into data, you can also typically see the time frames of where if you're going to hire someone for 12 hours, where should that 12 hours actually be? Is it because of the commute? Like maybe you actually want to have a shift start at 6 and not 7 because all of your car accidents come in at 6:30, you know, because people traveling. So like, is it beneficial to have shifts start earlier to make sure people are here, to be able to, you know, go to those kind of call volumes? The same thing at night. Like, do you want to end at 5, or do you also notice that all your calls are happening at 6, but yet nobody's home from work yet to cover them? And so those are the bigger data-driven questions. And the benefit of kind of doing things that way is when people ask you on why, you can say, well, here's the data, here's the budget where we're at, here's the data. If we do this model, we have this little increase, we can provide this at this level. And then it's clear. So other than if they're not wanting to spend money, you know, it's like, if they want more, okay. If they want less, well, you can vote. We can vote for that. But this is the, you know, hard data decisions on not just saying we need 2 people here 24/7. Would be nice, but it might not be the starting point where groups need to be. So,
I can't afford to be.
or afford it. You know, at some point, you know, 10 years down the road, you're going to need some more services. It's better to start the process now than you know,
Absolutely. Well, I think regionalization is a must. I don't think it's even a choice, in my opinion, at this point in time.
I agree with that.
After listening to the chief over there, he opened my eyes a lot.
I looked up to see if he was looking at
I was looking at you. I mean, you know, make some statements that make so much sense, and at that point in time, I just said, it ain't an option, because we all know funding's gonna be drying up. And would you wanna give to something that's gonna happen 3 or 5 towns, or you wanna give to an individual town that's, you know, so that's something days coming, even grants is gonna be the same way. Just the change in funding is gonna make a big difference.
So another component that's not done yet, but would need to be done in the future, and it'll help with that, would be starting to look at the apparatus. Almost do the same thing. All combined, what do they have? What would be the needs? And you can start to see, like, well, combined, you know, individually, you all might need to buy some type of apparatus, but when you start looking at the whole, you might say, wait a minute, we can actually get away with buying one right now, which is a huge cost savings. If you start figuring out, you know, like, if we do this rotation, we can maximize what apparatus everybody does have and utilize it to more of a life. There's gonna be a cost. You're gonna need fire trucks, you're gonna need ambulances. Payroll's gonna go up, but, you know, starting places.
But payroll is the one thing that's your bigger variable than like fire trucks, you know, I mean, the price of them nowadays, one fire truck, some of the fire trucks are $1 million or more, and you start getting that kind of money, that's a lot of man hours you're funding.
Yep.
So, in a big scheme of things, and like you said, everybody don't need everything.
There are ways to be creative.
And I think that's what we're gonna have to do to be able to fund this stuff, because there just ain't a lot of extra money out there, you know, and when the county going up on their rates this year in a big way.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Apologize for that.
Yeah, but I have to throw that in every time just because. But you're doing this for free, so I appreciate that.
But I think the value in this, before we go up and kind of talk about staffing, is to know that there are some options to start I mean, just simply even if you kind of push some of these things together, that with the money that people are already spending for the communities, that there's a way to start.
Yeah.
Without like saying that it's gonna cost $1 million to do this region thing. No. Like we can make something happen for lower cost. Now, there probably will be some increases when it's all said and done from this number, but due to the factors that we've already talked about, there's hidden costs that we don't have on this piece of paper yet. But, questions? So, for the purposes of this, we'll go here, see if we can make this work. Got class. There's gonna be a pop
I
quiz
didn't
later.
I didn't pick my seat very good, did the table here.
Alright, so
Keep hitting my knees with it.
for Glenburn, you have daytime staffing at the station?
8A to 8P, and then 8P to 8A, 2 shifts. We staff a single per diem provider. This is Monday through Sunday. Ranges anywhere from EMT to medic. Day side, Monday through Friday, we're medic, 8A, 8P.
Day at the station.
That's time,
Day
that's
side, 8A to 8P, Monday through Friday, we have a medic available.
At the station, or it could be at home.
Most of the time, it's like day shift. Chucky will go home at like 4 or 5 o'clock for supper, and then he's home for the evening. I leave work on Friday at 3. I'm at home until 8, and then Mondays I don't work, but I'm around until 8. EMT if you want payroll numbers.
this is
Okay.
just operational, I kind of get an operational eyes on it. So we know the overall payroll, number on that, so you have one on Monday through Sunday?
Yep,
And-
24/7.
And then you have a call person at night?
So that the 8 a.m. to 8 p shift, they're required to be at the station from 8 to 5, and
Okay.
then the night shift, they take the car home, so 8 p to 8 a, and respond from home with the fly car.
Oh, so that's 8. Alright. And then you don't have any, do you have set hours? Or
We're pretty flexible right now, just to try to get people.
alright, then Corinth, you guys have, you
6
start
to
with the chief,
6 to 6.
6 to 6? 6A, 6B? That's times 2?
Correct. Not necessarily 2 clinicians, could be a driver and a clinician, or 2 clinicians.
And that would be premiums.
They
That's-
don't have to be at the station, they're around.
That's on call from home.
Within 5 miles, I should say.
So there's a distance requirement.
Distance, yes, 5 miles.
Town's only 6 miles square, so it should be able to make that one, huh?
I don't know. Do they, if somebody wanted to that lived further away, they just have to come here and hang out, or?
Yeah. We haven't seen that yet due to what we're paying, but,
Basically, we got a 15-minute call time,
correct.
from home to the
From
station.
home to the scene.
Home to the scene.
How you gonna make the scene 15 minutes from, depending where it would be, you don't come get the ambulance and go?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I thought that was home to the
Correct.
station.
Home to the scene.
Home to
Home to
scene,
the
yeah.
patient.
And then do you have set hours for you?
Say that again.
For you as a chief, do you have a set daytime schedule?
I'm here 6 to 4, a 10-hour day.
Monday through Thursday?
Monday through Friday.
We get all we can out of you.
They sure do.
I gotta negotiate those Fridays off, those 3-day weekends.
Well, it depends on how many of these meetings I have.
Oh, that's true.
Sometimes I shorten Friday up.
Alright, then, Kenduskeag?
So right now, the only guarantee is Sunday day shift, 8 to 4, there's an officer at the station. Everything else is done per diem. So we have varying degrees of coverage.
What was the time frame from Sunday?
8 to 4. There should be at least one person in station that day. Beyond that, our per diem coverage, they can work the day shift 8 through 4 or a night shift.
So just the day shift in general is 8 to 4?
Yep.
Every day of the week? Yeah.
Yep, and then the other option is to work the night shift, and they do 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. That can be from home, but they have to have a 10-minute response time to the station.
I'm sorry, what was the time?
6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Is that paid call?
So the 2 shifts pay a stipend of $100 or $50, and then once they are called, they start receiving the hourly pay.
It's gonna be a quiz, so I hope you study. Alright, so the day shift's $100, night shift's $100?
Night shift is 50.
But from home.
It can be from home. If they live further from the station than a 10-minute response time, they will stay in the bunk room there, but for the most part, that hasn't happened a lot.
Depends how good getting along with the wife, I'd say.
What's that?
Depends how good you're getting along with the wife, I'd say.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always a nice place to hang out.
Alright. Am I missing anything? Anybody doing anything else? So, any given day, you've got 5 people on during the day, and 3 at night? Is that right? Well, 4 at night. So,
One in Glenburn, one in Kenduskeag, and 2 in Corinth overnight.
In Monday through Friday day side, you could put me as another one as I'm staffed at the station. I'm not
Yep.
fire department, but I am in the building.
Fire adjacent.
Unless you're on inspection.
Yeah, at what point, right, wrong, or indifferent, at this time we have an agreement that that inspection stops at the time we tell them we'll resume when we're done.
Cool.
That's,
It can be inconvenient for the customer, and until we work through things, it kinda is what it is.
emergencies aren't always convenient.
Very, very rarely are they.
Yeah.
That's why they call them emergencies. One plan on that.
Did that take much of a fight for the town to agree to that?
No.
Good.
I was voluntold I would do it.
Voluntold.
Yeah, that happens a lot in the workplace.
Yeah. Just for your numbers too, I just looked back in the meeting notes, the payroll wasn't funded completely in fiscal '24. We increased that with ARPA funds to do the raise when we come back of 40 grand. That would be 147 for payroll.
there you go, see, their percentages now.
I'm liking it, I'm liking it.
Plus
They've
the,
caught up.
plus the capital accounts. So
Well, that means ours goes down though.
Well, yes, yeah.
Yeah, well,
$50 grand on the Glenburn side that was on the.
well, I just looked at it, you get 5,000 costing 20-something%, and you get 3,000
Yeah,
costing.
I know the capital is
49%, yeah.
probably right around 100, so that puts you 140 higher, so.
Yeah.
I mean, we're within 40-50 grand of you guys now, so.
You should be over us.
I don't think I'll be over you.
Well, it depends on the personnel side, but probably it's similar to.
The
probably
personnel,
about-
that will be your total for personnel, what you have there.
So that's including all
My,
the stuff?
my stipend that I get for fire chief now is incorporated in that. The only thing that kinda makes it weird is I'm fully funded through the code office.
Yeah.
So I'm being shared through a stipend right now, so my complete salary will not be a factor in that equation at this point.
Right, but the payroll does not include like social security, workers' comp,
Correct,
all that stuff for
Yep.
everybody on the department.
Yeah, I will get you that amount.
Alright, so what I see here, I'm not gonna play the political thing, but I'm just gonna say it. If you had to, with what people are already paying, you could facilitate staffing 2 ambulances most of the time for around this number. Now you have to start looking into the, more details to come, but from what you're already having, you could make it happen, if you had to.
So I'll ask this question, I'll be that guy.
No, absolutely.
I agree with you 100%, but is that a sustainable model? With what we're paying people to do, what we're asking them to do, when they age out and we go to the next generation of volunteers or employees that aren't necessarily townies and wanna give back to the town, are we funding this in a way that we're gonna recruit new members that don't live within the community they're in?
That is a fantastic leading question. I would say, cause this is current, right? This is today, this is not tomorrow.
This is the Band-Aid program.
Right, this is not, I mean, right, well, the point is to have a starting idea and move on, right? But you are absolutely correct, and part of the discussion that has to happen between the communities is, like, this is now, but there are issues that need to be continued to explore of, like another one is combining the rosters to truly look at how many people are combined even working here, and how many people we need to do that kind of model. If you're talking about per diem model of 4 employees, 24/7, that's a lot of people. Versus do you start to look at, hey, if we hired a medic in one of the, combined, one truck would have a medic on it, and we do a day shift paramedic to try to, that's a full-time person, but that cuts down a lot of per diem people. Typically for every one per diem position you need about 7 people on your roster to cover that 24/7 shift. So everybody says per diems are
Per year.
wonderful.
And some
Per diem.
vacations and.
Yeah, right. Because per diems come and go, there's a cost to per diems,
Mm.
gear, training, and they're revolving door. So they are cheaper in the sense of when people look at them and say, we don't have to cover personnel costs for them. But there's a cost that's normally not talked about is the revolving door of, they come in, they're here for 6 months, they leave, you hire a new person, they don't fit in the same gear, and with standards, you have to give them fitted gear and, get them up. All the chiefs will hopefully support me on that, so there's a cost to per diem turnover. So that's something that the group also has to think about.
But that again, that was something we talked about before with all the gear around. If that was the case, then if you had 3 towns coming pulling the gear, you could have a lot more choices on sizes and stuff. You wouldn't have to buy one every time.
Well, sure.
I mean, that's the thing about sharing. If you're sharing everything, like gear and everything else, I mean, you said you had tons of gear down there that nobody can wear. I mean, somebody else, unless it's out of date, of course. But.
And it goes out of date, there is a date.
Of course it is.
Shelf life.
Of course it is.
Gonna say,
Planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
roof replacement
If anybody wants to
started
read
in
the
last
OSHA
few years.
standards, there's some light reading here, so.
You also get into the, when these people come in, we have them fitted.
Mhm.
So how many Chief Roys are out there that I can put that person in gear that's comfortable or meets the standard of when he stretches his arm, it doesn't come below the cuff. So at, $5,000 a head for just turnover gear, you still have an expense. So another supporting factor in the volunteer per diem that it is a cost, a huge cost. So.
I know where his old SCBA mask is. It still says Roy on it too.
So those are discussions that have to be talked about, and that's part of the where are you now, where do you need to be, and then also where do you need to be, because you can't post a full-time paramedic job and think that you're going to hire someone for $36,000 full-time. I know that's not on there, but if full-time paramedic's not going to work. It's not going to work for that. So there's a cost to that, but
There's a lot of pieces in this puzzle.
there is.
A lot of pieces. We haven't got one side got anyone close yet.
No, this is gonna be a process. It's gonna be, realistically,
We'll make it
the committee is
process.
really into it, a year to truly have a good, solid, data-driven plan
Mhm.
to say, hey, this is what I think we can do, realistically.
Well, and Jordan, I would imagine that we'd probably, in the whatever we're calling ourselves, because I was late.
Oh, we have,
Still no name? Okay, so I haven't spoiled that yet. But we'd probably, I mean, much like Ellsworth or the Hancock County Fire Departments, we'd probably have some sort of person dedicated to recruitment and retention. At least as their fiduciary responsibility. If not, that's their title.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that seems to be working for them.
Well, I mean, there's one of the things that I like to say about when you combine some of these, there's a lot of things that a chief has to do by law. They have to do.
Mhm.
10 hours a week probably they're spending doing the things that they have to do. So when you talk about this merger, and chiefs will go like, well, geez, maybe I'm not going to be in charge tomorrow. No, there's still going to be leaders. There needs to be leaders, but you can actually focus on things. Like somebody can actually focus on training. The chief still has to do the chief things, but a deputy can be like, their job is training. They're still needed for the area. They're still going to need a leadership core in all those communities. So there's roles that need to be had. Someone else can be like, hey, you need to. Your job is recruitment and retention for the district now. And like that's your role, and you go out and you do it because you're not trying to do all the same things, and all the chiefs sitting here to a certain degree. You're doing the same job, spending 10 hours a week doing the same thing for your small community. That you're freeing up that time and personnel to focus on bigger picture things, for recruitment and retention.
You get figuring training up for everybody, that would be a lot of work, just getting all the training coordinated for 2 or 3 towns hooking together or whatever it might be. And that would be a big deal, but as you said.
No, it's a big deal for one town.
But I'm
You
just
have
saying,
more-
but well,
It is.
when you get, it is, but to do it for 3 towns, it wouldn't be 3 times as complicated.
No.
It'd be, you still got the model, so once you just plug your numbers
Just
in at that
increase
point.
the time required to complete the project.
Exactly right, so I mean, there's a lot of ways, that's what I'm saying, that's why I think this will work, because there's a lot of things that just work so good when you got a lot of pieces in that, the extra work to do it, is, it's like doing a townhouse, doing 1 apartment or 5, There ain't a whole lot of difference.
Yep.
Not to mention, we talk about 3 communities together. I just think about it. Call comes in and somebody's driving home. They live out here, but they're driving to the Glenburn. Call comes in, and they're part of the department. They could actually be like, hey, I'm gonna respond to that
Glenburn traffic
because
coming up here.
they're part of the group.
Yeah.
That's it's no longer like you have to wait 2 towns and then wait for them to call. And, but so there's some benefits to that. But, how are people feeling? Sick to their stomach yet?
No,
I'm optimistic. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't see, my own opinion is, and Dave will say that, I don't see you have a choice, that's the way it's gonna be coming, and you either get on board or, I don't know where you're gonna be, but it's not gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
I look at the things that are going on a bigger level at the state level, and having people in Garland, so close to us that are saying, hey, like the ambulance didn't come quick enough, and this person passed away. And I don't know how much, I didn't look into it or investigate that in any way, but that's how the family feels about it, and that I don't want us to be in that position. So something, obviously what we're doing isn't working anymore, and there's got to be some movement forward. We got to adapt somehow. It is crazy when we have, in the rare times we have house fires here, how many towns end up coming because, people show up and you're like, I need air pack personnel and water. And they're like, nope, just, we brought the brush truck. Like, go home.
Well, the problem has come to, is like in this town, 20 years ago, we had 3 mills, and there was never a day when there was a fire, you didn't have 15 people responding within 5 minutes, because you had 3 mills in this road, and everybody, that they shut the mill down, everybody went. That's not the case anymore. You can't shut down the grocery store and say, everybody who works in that grocery store is gonna be part of this. And with the training nowadays and everything else and all the requirements, them days,
They're
Hey.
going.
Well, they're gone.
I look at comprehensive plans, they said 10-year plan, and I says, not even a year anymore. I mean, comprehensive plans for 5 years, that don't work anymore because things are moving too quick. Technology and everything else.
Sure. I think from my perspective, to help the group out would be, we need to find the holes in the budget to help continue to build. If your community is also putting money away for fire apparatus or anything like that that's not included, got yours.
Say, give me one.
Just didn't flip the page over.
I think he was holding back on
Yeah,
it.
to have an idea.
Yeah, we have a contingency account we're putting
Yeah,
in every
50
year.
grand for a truck,
That wasn't part of the budget.
no.
That's 50 grand a year, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Which we all know that's not a lot of money, but
No, it's not, we started out with 10, it's like, that's not even covering the friggin',
Yeah.
Upgrades.
yeah, no.
This much vehicle.
50 doesn't really cut it now, but,
No. But there again,
I don't know,
still only get so much money to spend, no matter
Yeah,
what.
yeah.
That don't change.
that's right.
Ours was 100 at one time, and that would cover your payment over the cycle of the loan.
Yeah.
It'd be 100 grand a year payment,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's not anymore.
Yeah.
Close.
but I guess I'd suggest that, and then what I will do is continue to do a deep dive into some call volume and bunker chiefs. Just to start looking at when are calls happening. So we had the maps, but to now actually look at a little bit more data decision. When are calls happening? Where are they happening? A little bit more. To then start to have kind of more of the what coverage do you need?
Does the state still have access to that I did a pilot program. You got me onto it back a few years ago.
Spatial?
That one. No. So you'll heat signatures and times a day.
Oh, that's kind of what we did looking at. Yeah, that's what
It's a good program.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, I would say I don't know what day of the week do I want to sign up for the shift
Right.
work, but and then the time frames of when the calls are happening, because then you can start to have your conversations of when do we need to have staff, and when are the times that it'd be better to have people here versus not, and then also start to have a conversation of what would be a unified pay scale and kind of all those kind of conversations.
Well, the thing about having, like I said, nighttime, when most people are home, you got a lot of people that can respond in. During the daytime, you don't, that's one thing we don't have anymore. We used to had the same people, but that's when nobody had a light then.
But trending wise, you are finding less and less people even coming out at night, even when they're home. So that's part of the challenge. That people
But when there wasn't nothing else to do and go and meet the guys at the fire station, that was a big deal for the month.
Oh,
Yeah.
Training was fun, that's when you did it because you had nothing better to do. There was no internet, wasn't much TV.
Well, those were back in the day when they had a beer at the station too, but.
Yeah.
Still a couple times you can.
Still a couple times you can. Yeah. You go down south, there's still firehouses in like New York that have a pub attached to it that are owned by the fire association, so.
Hey, when I worked at Pratt Winter, you could buy beer in the cafeteria,
But,
right in the plant, that was the defense plant, you could buy 2 beers in the cafeteria. They built new cafeterias, that went away, but when I left there, in '73, you still could buy beer in the cafeteria.
Careful, you date yourself.
I'm getting almost 80 years old, I'll be 79 in 2 months.
I was gonna say, he already confessed everything.
Hey, I'm not ashamed. I'm trying to hurry this through so I get to see it happen.
so that's what I had prepared for tonight, Jason.
What, obviously you wanna talk about call trends and data and stuff, is there anything else that I can bring you that will help paint you a better picture of Kenduskeag or?
I already have your apparatus and years and all that stuff.
Okay, I didn't know.
And your roster. So really, it's the hole in the budget, which I'm assuming gonna have to
Yeah.
come from the town office. Where's that money hiding? And then I believe I'll be working with Jason to look at what the state has, and then we'll reach out to you if there's like gaps or doesn't make sense in the data to paint a picture for the next time.
Yeah, my discussion with Dakota about tonight was basically, he's like, I'm on shift, I'm not gonna be able to make it, can you go? And it's, yep.
Well, welcome.
Yeah, so it's like,
Yeah.
kind of walked in blind, but I was like, all right, he told me why it might cause some trouble, so.
We haven't thrown you out.
Yeah, I know.
Also, he's ice fishing, not on a ship.
Is he really?
I was gonna say, yeah.
Oh, he must not be back yet.
He
That's
didn't
what he
see
meant.
that's cool.
No,
It's
he's
kinda-
not back
I'm
yet.
certainly driving it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. All weekend they were up there, and I was like, "You get anything?" He's like, "Just one trout." I'm like, "Huh." Like, doesn't sound like you're on the traps very much.
Otherwise, I would say, again, if somebody says, you know, how much money is it gonna cost, say, we're working on that.
Lots,
You know, we're working on that, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
If they're curious, we have a date for the next one, and we're gonna, you know, be in Glenburn, so say, hey, February 11th, you know, 6 o'clock, come on down.
Is it the 11th?
February
That's my
5th.
birthday.
So I was gonna say, if you got fit in the London, maybe we get to meet.
I have another one.
Here again.
I have a different meeting on the 11th.
Your birthday?
Yeah.
Is it February 11th? Or
No.
I think it's the 5th, yeah.
Fifth, yeah.
When were you taking off? Not for a
The
while.
14th,
Okay.
or 15th, I think.
On Valentine's? Oh, the day after Valentine's Day.
Cool, thank you, Paul, appreciate, the work you put into that. The only other kind of updates that I have is just, we did work on the community planning grant application. Paul put together a quote, for us with some other measures, and I'm gonna finish the rest of that application this week. And then we're gonna meet with Scott from Penobscot County to, present that to them. You're gonna be off the hook, we're gonna let the county submit the paperwork, so.
He's okay with that.
It's Scott's, oh, he is, okay, great. That way we don't have to wait, we're not gonna, have Peter pay Paul and do all that.
Makes sense.
I'm
No
always,
pun-
I always love it.
No
when
pun
people-
intended. Yeah, so we'll just get that money straight to the county for the consultant services and go from there. Does it, so you have a meeting on Tuesday, and
Yes.
I was kind of hoping to come to that. There's a budget committee workshop here with the select board on Tuesday, and I think I'd like to kind of be here to help support the fire department for that. Is there anything that we could do to support you at your select meeting? Like, I would offer Paul to go, but I can't speak for him, like if he could go or not, but.
No, I've pretty much made it clear to everybody that if they get out of line, I will be calling the sheriff's department. I got.
It's
no
not
room-
that bad, is it?
I don't know.
Like, I hope you're being silly.
I don't know what he's trying to stir up.
Okay.
Well, you got one person that, I think, I feel very good in town of Corinth, at least, my other four cohorts, they're all pretty much agreeing, siding with me. You know, I don't think it's a choice, that's the whole thing, it's not, right now, it is a choice, but that's gonna be short-lived.
I mean, it's just, tell, you know, you're exploring the future sustainability of
No.
fire units. And you can tell me, this is non-committal, nobody has committed, like, you're not putting any money down.
And that's what I keep telling everybody.
This
I
is
say,
just
we're just,
Conversation.
I say, everything's just being thrown on the table, we're trying to go through it, figure it out. We're all in it together, we're all trying to do the best that we can for our communities. That's what's important.
We're gonna save money.
What's the context of that meeting that you think it's gonna go that way?
I used to be recording.
Well, I don't mind talking about it while we're recording. So there's a resident of Kenduskeag that has some wishes that this group work with Levant, and they're not involved, so he's kind of opposed. Potentially have some disagreements with the chief, and that's okay. I did speak with him, and I said, you know, hey, when the county reached out, we responded. We got together with a little group. We started working out some details of some planning, and we've met a handful of times now. And Levant has reached out, and they are working on their own strategic planning group as well, with Paul, right? And so things are progressing that way. I don't think he was aware of that at the time, but he is now, and
I know, and I did tell him that you know, I said I was copied on the email, so I know that you guys were invited and we didn't hear back and, various other things were said, so.
Sure.
I'm like,
Always gonna be one.
I know,
If it's only one, that's pretty damn good.
I know.
I'd
And
say.
you know me, I'm sweet until you piss me off.
If I had a whole dictionary full of words, that might not have been one of the ones I picked first. But there again, I've known you longer than this room.
So hopefully everything will go fine, but I don't like the fact that, you know, people are spouting numbers out there and
That was me. That was
They
a little. I mean, that was a little bit of me, right? Like that was me, probably born out a little bit out of frustration and a little bit out of excitement and wanting to progress and do things. And the numbers that I was sharing are kind of the numbers that the fire district 1 is kind of at right now. And so,
but when it was said to me, it was like $1 million a town.
yeah, no, that we never should have got. So
I don't think so.
no,
I think a starting point is right here. Those are your budgets right now.
yeah.
That's the point of driving that number. This is the budget of what it would be
So
right
that's,
now.
well, that's why they're
Then
asking so many
upper number is not-
questions.
The upper number that you wrote there is not terrible, not, you know, split it 3 times.
Yeah,
No, especially if even if it's just, you know, one provider being available at all times.
It is what it is, something better than nothing.
Well, yeah, that's
and
what.
then you gotta think too, I mean, we've put into our budget for our contract with Northern Light. So that's gonna end up, once we get rid of them, that'll go,
That's not part of that. Then.
You know, does that come from a different fund than the fire department fund?
we're creating a whole new line for that.
So if you want to let us, if you're breaking down that stuff, you can let us know what that total
Okay,
would be budgeted for. Because
okay.
if you're spending the money for EMS, you can count towards the budget.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Exactly.
What I'm saying, that's probably not part of your guys' current.
No, it's gonna be 90.
That's just-
90? Look at that, Stuart. They're catching right up.
We
They
have-
might have
right,
passed you now.
because
I think.
I still see that 40%,
Jordan is-
that number's still good.
Jordan, that's a
burned in
full
my
year,
mind till
I
next
assume,
time.
right?
Well, that
I know
49%
our
is still gonna be
First
burned
one
in my
this year
mind.
is for a partial, so I think it's like close to 25,000. But that's for partial, I don't know what the full year is gonna be. I think Dakota's still in negotiation with them, trying
Well,
to beat them down.
I think
until this
That census, so I think that's usually.
last change with Northern Light, we were still building that.
Well,
I wanted to go higher.
Well, because it's based on
Like, they were paying
Yeah.
$40 a call
We didn't know
per
what census
person.
they were gonna pull, so.
So now we're
We'll try